Hello viewers, welcome back to Daily Retro. Today we're going to be doing a little review of the Doncaster video game market. So this was on the 5th of February, last Sunday even as of recording, and it had its pros and cons. I think it was an enjoyable day from a social point of view. But yeah, this video is just to do a little review of my experiences of my first time at that market. It's easy just to say that it's the biggest and therefore it's the best market in the UK, but I'm going to sort of throw some thoughts out there and see what you guys think as well. So what happened was we booked a Airbnb for Sunday night just because we've got the little one with us, and my wife was kind enough to sort of look after him most of the actual market, which was really nice of her. So it gave me an opportunity to really sort of get involved in what was happening at the market. So we'll definitely cover the positives first because that's what you want to hear mostly, I guess. So yeah, the social point of view was really good. Saw lots of friends of mine from YouTube and elsewhere, Instagram as well, who are sort of they're exhibiting. Tutti, for example, and Eddie Roller X Core, who was being helped by Dylan, Hyper Trigger X. And yeah, I'll leave a link for those channels down in the description. But yeah, those Dana as well at Hidden Chess Gaming. Yeah, there's loads to mention. I'm not going to be able to mention all of them, but yeah, those guys were selling. And then I saw some friends I've never seen before that I've only really met through YouTube, such as Nath Retro. He was a really nice guy. Nice to meet you, mate, if you're watching this. And who else did we see? We saw Liam from Retro Ram. That was cool to meet you for the first time. And who else was there? There was Griffo, and I'm gonna forget so many. James is the only one else I can think of from Retro Import Gamer. But yeah, from a social point of view, really good event. If you're an amateur YouTuber or whatever, and you want to just sort of make some contacts, if that's your thing, then it's definitely a good social to go to. I spent probably a quarter of the time there just like chatting to people, which was really nice. My list of things on there was sort of quite easy to look for, so I wasn't really too bothered by taking time out of my sort of searching to have a chat with people about what they're looking for and just generally catching up, to be honest. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Second positive was definitely just the size of the market. So if you want a wide variety of items, then yeah, it's the best market to go to. But there's sort of a sort of negative side to that as well, which I'll cover in just a moment. But yeah, the size of it was just enormous. I think it took me around sort of an hour-ish to go around like every stall and have a look in detail, if that makes sense. It does take you a long time to go through each shop's stock. But yeah, really something I really enjoyed doing. So yeah, it's not like it was a hardship or anything. And then the sort of last positive was sort of the organisation of the event. So as you sort of went in this time, I don't know if this has been done in the past, but you got given a leaflet with who is exhibiting and at what table they're at. So it was really useful, this, just to be able to see A, where the stalls you know are, and B, where you might sort of have some different interests. My wife was certainly looking for pops, mainly the Lara Croft pop that she's not been able to find, and unfortunately she was unable to find her, which does sort of lead me on to another point after this. But yeah, that the organisation was really good. The queuing system was really good. They didn't just sort of overflow the market. They did actually keep an eye on numbers, and then you had that wristband if you wanted to exit and then come back in, which is absolutely amazing for us because Caden is just 14 months now, and he's absolutely running around like an absolute maniac. And parent tip: this is the best market to go to because there is literally a soft play area less than 50 meters away from the entrance, actually in the dome. So yeah, it's a really good place to go for that. There's also ice skating at that place, I think, as well. So a really nice sort of family place to go. But yeah, he really enjoyed his day because he was able to sort of have a look at the market and spend some time with mum and dad, as well as go in the soft play and play with the other kids, which he absolutely loves at the moment. Yeah, he's doing so well, bless him. But yeah, that was definitely sort of the main positives from the event. And now I'll just move on to the negative side of things. So yeah, like I said at the start of the video, it's easy to say that the biggest market, therefore it's the best in the UK. I think the main negatives for me were the sort of lack of rarer items. So what I mean by that is there's a few sort of more expensive items on my list. Mutant League Hockey on the Mega Drive for one, and I know it's not a particularly rare game, but is not cheap for a PS2 game. I'm sort of half looking for Ratchet and Clank Size Matters on PlayStation 2, PAL copy, and yeah, I saw it a couple times there, but the price on it was just way too much. Like, you should not be paying way more than an eBay price for something at a market which has no sort of transportation costs or postage even. So yeah, that leads me on to my second point, which was definitely pricing. So for whatever reason, obviously the stalls that I knew, like Eddie's and Tooties and Dana's, they have great prices, and yeah, it was kind of hit and miss between the stalls as to what was good value and what was very expensive and seemed very overpriced. Yeah, though I'd say about half the stalls were sort of sensible pricing, and the rest of them were kind of way too expensive, in my opinion. It just baffles the mind how expensive they were. That you see even from like cheap games where you expect them to be sort of £2 or £3 were being sold for £5, and yes, those games will sell because people will just throw away £5, like I actually did on one of the games, but it's a game that was in really good condition. I'm not going to go through them all today because they'll be in my next episode of Retro Gaming News and Editions, but yeah, and like for example on the slightly more expensive side of things, so as I mentioned, Size Matters on the PlayStation 2, that is a £20 game really at max on eBay, and the cheapest copy I saw at the market was £25, and it was absolutely beaten to hell. The disc would definitely not have worked. I found a much better copy, but it was £30. So why is it 50% more than eBay? It baffles my mind, and it wasn't just that game. That was just one example that happened to be on my list. I did see people pick up sort of boxed collector's versions of games, and those were definitely sort of standout items that were way overpriced. So collector's editions of, say, The Last of Us and Zelda and things like that, they were obviously easy sells because they're big franchises, but they was being sold probably between 25 and 50% what they're worth on eBay, which is just outrageous in my opinion. You should not be paying more on eBay than at a market, because eBay has a lot more fees associated with it, especially with high value items. The seller is paying at least 10% in fees. So why the market? I appreciate the market stalls have an X amount of cost for actually setting up your table and stuff, but I don't believe it's going to cost the seller that sort of margin on every single sort of high value game to be able to make their money back. It just seemed, yeah, way overpriced. Let me know if you've got any examples of that if you were at the market. I know a lot of people were. It was hard to find a good sort of a mix out of the stalls that I didn't know as to what was good pricing. So yeah, that's definitely the sort of second negative. So it's, yeah, I think when you go to these markets, you've really got to have a list and a value next to them as well, because you can easily get overcharged for games there. But I won't go on too much about that because it's each to their own, and it can be the only thing you spend money on for ages. And in the grand scheme of things, the market was very well attended, which was surprising because of the cost of living crisis and whatever's going on in the UK at the moment. The incoming recession, most likely. you think that video game markets are going to be sort of less well attended, but that was definitely not the case. It was very well attended, and I think that is just because video games are timeless, even when the economy's going to shit and people are looking for ways to occupy their time that are cheaper than, say, going on holiday, and that is definitely video games, where you can, I don't know, for example, I picked up a £3 PS3 game that was a complete edition, and that will probably be 80 hours worth of gameplay. It's a very cheap way to have entertainment at home, obviously. So I think people still are not sort of being put off by the cost of living crisis when it comes to spending their money on video games, which is definitely nice to see, because obviously it brings everyone out and makes everyone sort of happy about video games, which can never be a bad thing. And then yeah, I think lastly on the negative front, it was just the fact that yeah, the markets between them didn't really have a sort of standard. So there was some really odd stalls there. One that stuck out, for example, was I think it was a family sort of selling off, obviously, collections that they'd bought in previously, and they were selling everything in like sealed plastic bags, and they weren't like very. They were very crinkly, if that makes sense. So it was very hard to gauge condition of the games, and they wouldn't let you open them even if they was just a cheap game. So that really baffled me. There's stalls still like that out there, and the fact that I think it's Play Expo that runs these events. No, it's called Replay events, I think it's called. But it baffles me that they sort of allow anyone and everyone to sort of book these tables without sort of any questions as to what they're putting out and how they're putting it out there. Maybe I'm just being too anal about it, but that was just my impression. There was a few stalls like that where they wouldn't let you sort of inspect stuff, and from a collector's perspective, that was a very odd thing in my opinion. But again, let me know in the comments if you encountered something like that and it put you off, because it certainly did for me. But yeah, it's definitely a mix of positives and negatives from the event. I will still definitely be going next year. Like I say, it was a good family day out, and now I've sort of set my expectations. Next time I'll know more of what to look for, and hopefully this video will help you as well if you're planning to go to a future sort of date of it. I believe the next one is actually on the leaflet I got given for Birmingham Gaming Market is in May. Don't know if it's going to focus. But anyway, that's on the Sunday the 21st of May. Seems to be a common theme that these events are on Sundays now. But I always enjoy Birmingham Gaming Market, and as I have been to it a few times, I do know sort of what to look for. So it's nice to sort of be familiar with it, and yeah, I've done videos on it in the past, and hopefully videos like this will help you decide if you want to attend those events. But yeah, that's all for this episode, guys. Kind of a ramble, being honest, but I hope you've enjoyed anyway, and hope to see you at some more events later this year. Cheers.